Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Carrie Rolled On Show, where we spend 30 minutes or so per week having conversations that matter to the entrepreneur's body, mind, and business. On this show, we cover topics from marketing and websites to consciousness and hormones and everything in between. And if you don't know me, I'm your host, Carrie Roldan. I'm a wife, a mother, a runner, a best-selling author, a personal growth junkie, and your total business BFF. I am honored to be your teammate and intuitive guide on this entrepreneurial journey that we are all on. And today's episode is sponsored by Angels, Peacocks, and Butterflies, 100 Days of Miracles Business Edition by my amazing friend, Jean Berry. So this is a game that you play for 100 days, and it will or more. I play it constantly, actually. It will totally change your business. It is the coolest thing. It is super easy and tangible. So for those of you who need a business practice with a spiritual bent, a way to connect to your higher self, to hear your intuition in a way that's a little bit more tangible than, say, just having a conversation with the ether, this is going to be for you. You will love it. You can get it at carrieroldan.com/miracle game. And I will put that in the comments in a minute. And if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to a podcast, you can find it in the show notes. All right, you guys, I am so excited to have this conversation today. We are talking about how to grow a team that leads itself with one of my all-time favorite people on the planet, my business BFF, Dawn Andrews. So I'm going to read you Dawn's professional bio, and then we'll hop right in. So Dawn Andrews can help you reboot your life, period. She's the trusted advisor to more than 250 individuals in the world of entertainment. Her company, Free Range Thinking, is credited with cultivating extraordinary leaders, and she is committed to transforming the entertainment industry from the inside out. Dawn's clients are influencers, visionaries, and creatives, CEOs, entrepreneurs, producers, executives, managers, professionals, and artists with a core expertise in the entertainment industry. She also helps her clients improve every aspect of their life, both personally and professionally, by creating growth strategies, improving communication skills and leadership performance, while incorporating organizational effectiveness. Her company, Video Diva, teaches women in business how to create and use video marketing for visibility and exponential growth. She has been featured on the Oprah Winfrey Network, CBS, CNN, and VH1. Bottom line, Dawn can help you become visible and an extraordinary leader in your field, which is why I'm having her on the show today. So you can learn more about Dawn, her company, and what she does at freerangethinking.com. So Dawn Andrews, let me pull your face up onto the screen. There you are. Say hello.
Hello. Glad to be here, lovely lady.
I'm so happy to have you here, Dawn. I know that was a really long bio. And for some of my people, they're like, entertainment industry, like, do I need her? How's she going to talk to me about leadership? So, and building a team, leading a team that grows itself. So can you just start by telling us, my people are interested in the journey, right? We're all on this entrepreneurial journey. So can you give us the Cliff Notes version of how you got here?
So I started out like a lot of your listeners and followers as a solo entrepreneur. I was in a corporate job. They were doing rounds of layoffs. I didn't see where I wanted to go next or what I wanted to do next. So I hired a coach at the time. And this is at the beginning, the early days of the coaching industry. And I decided I wanted her job. And so I trained and went back to school and got my organizational development degree and trained in coaching and got certified and started a coaching practice and pretty much sat out in my office with the crickets chirping and trying to figure out what to do to get this thing off the ground. And, we're obviously going to fast forward through a lot of that, but, I just started working with the people that I already knew, and I had had a background in entertainment and I'd had a background in entrepreneurialism growing up in the family that I grew up in. and just started selling. And the business has evolved year over year. And in fact, the bio that you just read has even transformed since then to where I'm now really focused on working with venture funded startups and helping them grow their teams, because they go through an exponential period of growth that when they get their first round of funding, usually from solo entrepreneur to them +2 to them up to 100 in a very short period of time. So still the same skills, still the same conversations, and now yet another transformation and a new group of people that we focus on here at Free Range Thinking.
So I love this, and I actually want you to tell a little bit of the story of finding your people, because I think this is so important. And this isn't the conversation about building a team that leads itself. We'll get there. But this is so important to my people and where they are right now. So, and I happen to know you and your journey. John, I'm having a tough time with my mouth today.
Easy for you to say, girl.
This hole in my face is having trouble forming words. Dawn is a member of my Team BFF, like personal mastermind. And so, yes, but Dawn, when we say this entrepreneurial journey and how she's evolved, right? When we met, you were deeply in the Hollywood business strategist camp, right? Which is much of the bio that I just read. And then you moved into Video Diva and helping entrepreneurs like me and my people, right, get more video savvy. This was at a time when people were really afraid to get on video and the idea of a low-cost video production was new.
Yep.
You were great, and your background with all the Hollywood peeps was super helpful, right? And then you sort of swung back and really focused in on your Hollywood business strategist business. You grew that exponentially, which I think that part is important for our conversation about leading a team that builds itself. And then you really discovered you started helping nonprofits, right? You decided you was a different kind of person that you really wanted to sink your teeth into. And you floundered for a long time, looking for that person. And I know there are people out there who they're doing, and I'm probably one of them or have been one of them, you're doing good work and you're helping people and you feel good about it, but there's something else you really want to sink your teeth into, and maybe we can't even put our finger on it yet. Can you just share a little bit about that journey and how it felt to find your people and find to get where you are now?
Oh my God, you guys, seriously. I wish I could reach out and wrap my arms around every single solo entrepreneur out there and squeeze the crap out of you, because depending upon who you are or where you're coming from, the first thing you hear is find your niche, choose a niche, pick a niche. It's all about a niche. And it is. I really want it not to be the case. And it just is, especially if you're looking to grow and build a business, because without it, all the other functions that you need for a business to rise and grow, to even build the team that we're talking about today, really centers around this niche. And sometimes it's, you can just pick it and kind of work into it, and it starts to feel like home, you grow into it. And sometimes you pick it and it feels like you put on a shoe that's 2 sizes too small. And I would say I have gone down both roads. The Hollywood business strategy is still a very big part of our business. But one of the challenges that I had in that niche was that in typical businesses, you're looking for places that people gather, or somewhere that you can go to have ongoing conversations and reach the people who are your target audience to be able to sell to them. Because if you don't sell, you don't have a business. And with the folks in Hollywood, the only gatherings that we as a community have are at the Oscars, big high profile events that have multi-level things going on. And it just got really difficult to run a referral only business because you couldn't count on it. And so what happened was I worked with one of my clients, and usually I think this is how things become clearer, is you just engage with the people that come, you serve them really well, but you have to keep an eye kind of on the meta conversation that you're in with people. And through working with one of my clients, he was able to help me and referred me to his other CEOs that were all in this startup venture fund that he runs. And I would like to say that I had the brilliance to go, this is the perfect niche for me. But it literally was handed to me because of being in motion and working with the clients that I have. If I hadn't been, God knows when or where or how I would have found this like fits me like a glove group of people. But it came because I was engaged with the people who would help and still was looking for that right connection where the rubber really hit the road. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. But I think you're leaving out the part that speaks to me, right? All of that makes like logical head sense.
Yeah.
The part that spoke to me so much was you told me a story about how you had been going to like the same kind of business events, right? You felt like you'd been at the same business event over and over and over. And then you went to this other event.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And that's
you're like, oh, yeah, tell that story. Okay. Yeah. So again, coming from that solo entrepreneur place, there are a lot of things that are targeted towards that particular group of people because you're in the early stages of building something. And I finally just went to a conference that was it was the Fast Company. Fast Company is a magazine. It's a business magazine, but it's also culture, pop culture, industry, money. It covers a lot of different things. So if you're not familiar with it, pick it up. It's a great magazine for people in business. And it just was fun. It was fun to read the magazine. I loved reading it. I looked forward to it every month when I got it. And they had a conference based in LA on the 100 most creative people in business. And I was like, I'm going to go. And I just really followed my inspiration and my curiosity. And it didn't necessarily seem like it was an alignment or a right fit with the entertainment industry. Like, does Variety have a conference or Hollywood Reporter? Those are industry trades. But those weren't calling to me. Fast Company absolutely was. And I went to the 3-day conference, was so inspired by the people that attended, by the people that were featured. Like, I just felt like I was finally in the mix of my tribe. And out of that came something even more just astonishing was we decided that the folks that are on my team decided that we really wanted to start an accelerator for nonprofit executive directors, for people that had essentially startup businesses, but in the nonprofit realm. And we were having a really crappy year business-wise. So we had this space. Because of that conference, we started that nonprofit accelerator. It lifted us up. It gave us so much juice and so much enthusiasm and kind of re-engaged us in the business. And then from that, went to New York for their second conference, met up, and then here we are connected with this business prospect, knowing that my interest now had shifted a little bit more and refined to this new group of people. So it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't just like broken from the norm a little bit of what was expected, what the conferences you're supposed to go to, what you think you're supposed to do. I just let my heart lead a little bit more. And I just can't even believe the transformation that's happened because of it.
That was the part of the story I was hoping you would tell. Right? But because I think
this is why we're BFFs, Carrie, because you remind me, oh yeah, you got this other part of yourself that's spiritually connected, that actually is inspired and like thrives on inspiration. Because there's the other side of me, I'm lefty, righty brained, and sometimes that left brain is like, first you do this step. So I just appreciate that you make that present for me.
Well, and that's what I appreciate about you. That's why I told Dawn before we started, I'm like, this is going to be the best show that I've ever done. And it's because you bring the balance, right? You have this unique ability of taking the out there, airy fairy, really law of attraction, very spiritual, like all of that stuff, and pulling it down to earth and making it practical and tangible. So I really appreciate that about you.
The magic happens when the angels walk among us, Care.
Yes. Okay. So one, I just want to say that I think that's amazing. And I think that I love that your business, like I've been your friend for a while over the past several years. And if you've been anybody's friend in business for a while, you're with them through the ups and the downs, right?
No doubt.
And I've been on a ride with you, but every time that there's been an up, right? It's because you've done that, because you've broken from the norm, because you stopped doing what you should be doing and you decided to do something that seemed fun. It's almost unrelated, right? Seemed fun, sounded like, it was like, I call it the F it moment, right? Where you're just like, F it, I don't even care. I'm just going to do this other thing that I like. And then miracles happen. Okay, but let's talk, this on the show, we have conversations that matter to the entrepreneur's body, mind, and business. And you mentioned that as you were evolving, right, you had constantly kept an eye on the meta conversation that you were having with your clients. And so what's the meta conversation that you feel like we need to be having on this show in this space with my people?
Well, so we're talking about how to grow a team that leads itself. And that's assuming that you've started growing a team too. And I, want to be conscious of the fact that some folks listening are just at the beginning of their journey in business, and some folks may be much further along and have big teams or, larger companies. But the meta conversation for me that I was having with my clients that was universal and crossed these niches that we were talking about was about leading their people and growing a team that could help them scale and, create more revenue in their business. And the part that was missing, the conversation that really matters, is that growing a team is growing people. And ironically, everybody was like, I need to add headcount, as if they were adding cattle to like livestock to their, corral. I was like, well, I totally get headcount as a left brain term. It's analytical. It, makes sense in terms of your budget line items, but teams are made up of human beings. All businesses are people. All clients are people. And what just crushes me, and really is where we step in and make differences for businesses, is helping leaders come back to the fact that they are working with human beings, not furniture, not cattle, not rocks that just need to be, or robots that need to be picked up and moved around to perform a function.
Okay, I love that. I think that's going to speak to a lot of the people who watch and listen to me, is because I think that we encounter a lot of resistance even in this idea of building a team or hiring, because we love, appreciate, enjoy, and value that connection so much that I think a lot of us maybe are resisting the scaling. But there's plenty of people who I know are listening who have tried, right? Who have been told, who have been coached that says you need to scale, you need to hire, and they're following the steps, right? Oh my gosh, in this day and age, there is a formula or a blueprint for everything, right? Yeah. So they're following the formula, they're following the blueprint, they're checking the boxes on how to hire. But they're still not finding that they have this thing that we're telling people how to do, right? A team that leads themselves. They have a bunch of disjointed people doing different jobs, and they're still feeling stressed out and like maybe they have to micromanage, and they're just not feeling good about leading a team. And so what I found interesting is over and over when you were talking, you said, we help leaders, or I'm going to help these leaders. But I think that at least the person who I think I'm talking to right now doesn't see themselves as a leader, right? They see themselves as a business owner who needs to hire. So, me, I love
I'd say that's challenge number one to get over.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's great that you're a business owner that needs to hire people, but there's no point. And I just need to say this from working with people who have hundreds of employees, multiple hundreds of employees. There is never a time when you set it and forget it. And people, when you're coming from the mindset of being a business owner who needs to hire somebody to perform a function, I can tell, it's like I can just hear it. My shoulders start to crunch up because I can tell they're already thinking, well, I just need to plug this piece into this thing and set it and forget it. And that never works. It never works. Being with people, just like being with your family, requires time and investment. And if you put in a little bit, and you don't even have to put in a lot, but you put in a little bit of that time and investment ongoingly, consistently, you'll get the results out of that person in that role or function that you're looking for them to perform, but you have to invest the time. You have to.
So I'm forming words in my head. Let's have the conversation on, okay, so let's assume I'm in a place in my business where I'm understanding that if I want to grow, I have to stop doing all this myself, or I'm recognizing, right, I'm wasting, I made a video a while back on strengths and weaknesses. Like, oh, I'm clearly depleted by most of the tasks on my to-do list, and I'm not actually operating in my strengths. So I need to find some people. I need to find some people to do these things, and hopefully that doing those tasks, right, are in their area of strength. Doing those tasks actually lift these people up. So let's assume I'm in that place. How do I go about building a team that actually leads itself, as opposed to just building a team with a bunch of
disparate people?
Yes.
So, okay, we're opening a whole different can of worms to talk about hiring.
Okay.
And then sourcing or finding the right people. So let's just assume that you found what you think are your best options. Like you've done whatever hiring process you've done, you've gathered your people, and now you have at least one, if not a few people in role that you've defined for them. The first thing towards getting them to lead themselves is building a sense of trust with them. And that's from you to them, especially in the early days. So until you get past 8 employees or past 10 employees where you start to have another layer of leadership, it's between you and those few people that you've just started to hire. And trust comes out of being consistent, being clear, like having people understand the game that they're playing as part of your company and what's expected of them. And I know everybody has heard this before, like you need job descriptions. You really do. And most of the folks that I work with that are in those super early stages of business blow right past it. Or they think, oh, okay, there's just a quick project I want this person to do. And the instructions are half-baked. The details, timeline, who, what, where, when, how, by when, etc. Like none of those pieces have been crossed off at all. And it's usually not connected to whatever the larger initial goal is and whatever the larger intention of the company is. So this person feels like they're just coming in, like to use an example, I'm fortunate enough to have somebody that comes and helps us clean our house each week. So what I see people doing where people are making the mistake is they open their doors and they're like, clean the place up. Just it's clean when it's done. So your definition of clean and their definition of clean may or may not match. To what degree, using what products, in what order, is it tidy because things are hidden and there's not stuff around, or is it actually cleaned, or it's such a wide array. And that's building the trust part, is starting to be clear with that person about what you expect from them and what they can expect from you in return, which is you'll always be home at the time that they need to arrive, or that the paycheck comes on time, or that the supplies that they need are there when they need them. You start building that relationship. So that's the first piece of building a team you can trust. And that's one-to-one between you and that person until you grow to about 8 to 10 people.
Okay. So I'm just going to repeat what you said. So the first layer, while you're building your initial team, which I think a lot of the people who are watching live are probably at that phase, that they're building their initial team, or maybe they have their initial team, but it's still not 8 to 10 people. It's say 3 to 5. Job descriptions. So I have a question about job descriptions, which is like, if you hired them without a job description, how do you go about having that conversation, right? But setting clear expectations, all of these things are going to build trust. You will be able to trust them because you'll know that they have what they need, and they will be able to trust you because they'll know what you want, as opposed to being afraid. You said connect to the larger goal, right? So maybe the project goal, like them understanding their piece of the puzzle that's all fitting.
So that moves into the second and third piece of growing a team that leads itself. So come back to me for trust for a second.
Okay, good, because that was the other stuff is the stuff that really got my juices flowing. So.
Yeah. So first, it's just the one-to-one piece. And so if you hired somebody and you don't have a job description for them yet, another way to build trust is to just be vulnerable about it. Like, this is my first time running a business. This is my first time hiring a team, and you're the first person I ever hired. So we're going to create this together. And you can ask them, you know, they probably submitted something to you that you interviewed them off of. So start looking at their strengths, what they enjoy doing most, and match that up with the list that you were talking about, Carrie, the things that drain you, the things that you don't want to do, and start seeing where the match is to define even just a really simple entry-level job description. Or I like to call them performance plans instead. Like, how do you want to perform in that role?
I love that. I'm writing that down. Performance plan. That's like, I just had a conversation last week with Brianna Kavanaugh. She was talking about having a budget. And I was like, yeah, my husband doesn't do well with budget, but if we call it a spending plan, it's good. Like, same thing. Like job description, that doesn't like fill me up, but performance plan, yeah.
Well, and here's the difference for me with job descriptions. Job descriptions, it puts us back in that like robot furniture functionary kind of role. Performance plan leads into that next piece of a team that leads itself, which is building community. Because people start to see where they plug in, not only to your company, but how what their functions, their list of to-dos moves your company forward or moves their department of your company forward. And looking at the performance plan, a performance plan includes not only those lists of functions, but we also, like over here, what we design for our folks is we break it down by percentages. So if you look at the course of somebody's week or course of somebody's month, what percentage of time are they spending in these different areas that are connected to the bigger goals of the company? So what percentage of time are they spending on sales, if that's their thing? And if it's sales, how much of it is having inside meetings, how much of it is building leads, or how much of it is having sales conversations? Like, you start to break down the percentages. And that, think of it again, like, I know I was using I'm just going to give a shout out to Sonia because she keeps my world rocking. It helps them understand how they relate to the bigger picture. Or like if you're on like you were part of coaching and being on running teams, Carrie, you have certain people that excel in certain areas that get points for the team in the distance area or in the short or the off-road or everybody contributes in some way. And so the performance plans, when you have them, make that connection for people and they start to build the community of the whole company. So you start to understand what you do and what person number 2 on the team and person number 3 on the team do. And this is when culture gets born.
Oh my gosh, I love that it's so interesting, right? Oh, this is such a good conversation. One, I want to point out that we are already at 11:30, which means we're about at 30 minutes. So we're probably going to go a few minutes over today, guys, but keep listening. It'll be super good. But I have the best analogy for what you just talked about. And it is the track team, the analogy that you were giving on building a culture. So for those of you guys who don't know, my husband and I are track and cross country coaches, now retired, and we do other things. But like at our core, right? That's part of who we grew up to be. And we both were distance runners, but I was the distance coach, and there was another woman who was the head coach of the track team for the girls. And my husband was the distance coach, and he was the head coach of the boys team. And so there were different cultures on the girls team and the boys team, but I always understood it, but you just articulated it so well that one of the things that my husband did that this other woman who coached the girls team didn't do is he would meet with the whole team, 100 and something athletes before the meet. And he would explain to them how a track meet is scored, how points are established, like the big picture of how we win this meet. Mm-hmm. And then this is what we need, right? This is why this person's running this event and not that event. Like, this is where, he was big on the strategy to win the meet. But in doing that, he created a culture so that every boy on the team was totally invested in the outcome and cared and was scoring them. He taught them how to score a track meet. So they were scoring the meets themselves and figuring it out and coming up and saying, how are we doing in the long jump? We still need, where the girls team was not like that. Like, they showed up, they ran their event, and they went home, right? My little distance club, right? We were invested in each other, but the bigger picture was missing from the girls team. And anyways, I just had an aha because I got it when you described it that way. So,
well, and I want to, like we were talking culture a little bit before this. I want to just simplify that for people because they were like, what's our culture? How do we create culture? We need it. Like our culture sucks. Our culture is great. Culture is just how you do things, in your organization. And unfortunately, most of it is unspoken.
Yep.
Most of it is unspoken. You can do your best to make things explicit, like you were talking about Jim, how he broke it down. So there are certain things that you can do to make things explicit for your culture, but the majority of what people pick up on is what is unspoken. Just like in families. Ooh, okay, we don't talk about politics at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Not because anybody said, okay, we're not talking about politics today while we have dinner, but because somebody got in some big kerfuffle at Thanksgiving once. And so nobody speaks about it anymore. You know what I'm saying? So culture gets born and cultivated, curated, which I'm not a fan of that word, but it just is what it is. When people understand who they are uniquely to the process and what the bigger process is, and that everybody has each other's backs in that process. So right on for Jim, making that explicit for his team.
And amen, sister, because now you're speaking my language, right? Like you talk job descriptions and I'm like, oh God, can I get someone else to do that for me? That sounds awful. But you talk culture and people having each other's backs and I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is the real stuff that matters to me. What I'm finding so interesting about this conversation is it sounds like it's awfully hard to build a culture backwards. Does that make sense? It's awfully hard to gather the people first and then say, all right, you guys, this is what we're about, right? So that sort of goes to I think your last point, which is connect the people on your team to the larger intention of your company, right? Like I see the 3 levels that you're talking about, like get them clear on what they need to do, right? That's job description. Get them clear on
connected as a community, how they fit in the bigger picture. And then the last part of it is ownership.
Okay. Talk to me about it.
So ownership happens when they cross over to being them instead of us. So what happens in especially as companies get larger, there's the body of employees, and then there's management or C-suite level management. And it's always us, like us, the worker bees, the employees, the whatever, however the us identifies themselves. And there's the them, the managers or the C-suite level people. To have a team that leads itself, it's not that you promote people to management or you promote them to a C-level job. It's that they get the shift that they're engaged in something greater than themselves. And they start leading from the place of furthering that greater purpose over their own individual concerns and needs. Getting that as they further the greater purpose, as the company continues to thrive and grow, that they will be taken care of. And I get that can really sound utopian, especially in corporate America and with some of the changes that we've gone through. But if you're going to aspire to something, especially as somebody who has started a business, why not aspire to taking excellent care of your people? And you can't do that until people cross over into having that sense of ownership of your business almost to the degree that you do.
Well, and that leads into a conversation about, right, what does your business stand for? If it just stands for the bottom line, it's going to be awfully hard to, right? Which is, I think, what you're talking about, what we're seeing a lot in corporate America is if it just stands for the bottom line, it's really hard to build a culture around a bottom line, right?
Well, I don't know if it's hard to build a culture. There's always a culture. It's unspoken.
Yes.
But what is the quality of that and who wants to be engaged with it? Other bottom line people might have the best time ever working in a bottom line culture. I mean, Wall Street comes to mind,
Fair enough.
So if that's your jam, like, go for it. It's bottom line. It's a kill or be killed, keep what you eat kind of business. And some people really thrive in that game. And most of the folks that we're speaking to in your conversation, your audience, have a different driver than just money.
Clearly, because I couldn't even fathom, right? That like you had to point that out to me. Okay, but what I'm talking about is I heard this story about, I don't know if it's true. Someone told it to me. Remember monster.com?
Uh-huh.
That monster.com used to be like the big where you went if you wanted to find a job. It was like the online job. I don't even think it exists anymore. If it does, it's not the place to go anymore. And the person who founded monster.com, they believed, right? It was part of their mission statement. It was part of what they told their employees, people who worked as tech geeks in monster.com, or like everybody in monster.com was behind this CEO who believed that helping people find jobs was noble work. It was a mission. It was a calling. It was a service, right? Mm-hmm. And then they got, who knows what happened. He wasn't the CEO anymore. Maybe they got bought, but by somebody who didn't share that mission. And very quickly the company kind of disappeared.
Took a turn.
Yeah. So
that happens a lot.
Yeah. Or I'm thinking again of the story of Apple when Steve Jobs left and then came back, like the difference in, and we're having a leadership conversation, which isn't a team that leads it. Maybe that's the question. Is being a good leader what it takes to get a team to lead itself?
For sure. Because remember at the beginning, you said people don't see themselves as leaders. They see themselves as business owners. So whether you want to claim the mantle of it or not, you are leading. Even if it's just you only and you haven't yet built a team, you still are a leader. You need to be able to do that in order to fit out your team and to grow. Otherwise, it's just going to be you servicing clients, one-to-one indefinitely, which also is a totally viable business model. You just won't be able to really break your revenue ceiling. You won't have anybody to cover for you when you're sick and you need a day off. You are responsible for every dollar that comes in and how every dollar gets spent. And you're having a conversation with yourself in an echo chamber most of the time because there's nobody to bounce ideas off of. It sucks long term to be that person.
It does suck long term to be that person. And this is a whole nother conversation, and we need to be honoring of everyone's time. But what I want to say is, even when you're working one-on-one with a client, even if it's just you one-on-one with the client, right? If they've hired you for anything, you're still in some sort of a leadership role, right? You're leading them, you're leading them down the path to the result that they're expecting.
If I'm handing over my credit card number, I'm really expecting you to lead me.
Yeah. And so this is something that I realized a while back, but I think it's still hitting some people in my audience, people who are listening, people who want to be service professionals. I have a lot of coaches who are in my realm who want to serve, but are afraid to lead. Mm-hmm. And I hope that in this conversation, right, you guys have come to see, right, if you're called to serve, you've got to lead. Yeah. Yeah, you've got to. Okay, Dawn Andrews, any parting words before we pack it up and send everybody over to freerangethinking.com to see, or wherever you'd like to send them, actually.
Freerangethinking.com is great. And if what we've talked about speaks to you and you feel like it's the right time in your business, we have a contact us form that people can fill out to grab a quick session with us and see what kind of possibilities we can come up with together. So that's at freerangethinking.com. I would just invite everybody to step into leadership, to really be the face of what you stand for in your company. And from a completely practical standpoint, if you don't have anybody on your team yet, find that person, whatever that looks like, whatever the best fit is for you, find that person right away. Your business will start taking off as soon as you do. Like, it will up level to its next location when you grab that person. It's just a whole lot more fun.
It is a lot more fun. Like you said, doing stuff in a vacuum sucks. And only talking to yourself, like only having business conversations with your own limited brain, is kind of exhausting. Okay, I know I asked you for closing words, but I have one more question because sure. I feel like people need to know this. And so I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm hoping that what comes out of you is really amazing. Because
we'll see.
No pressure. I just want to know, what's your genius?
What's my genius? I would say seeing people's patterns, or just seeing patterns in general. I can see patterns in like world economy. I can see patterns in people's behavior that keep either lifting them up or causing them not to go anywhere. Unfortunately, I do not have the gift of seeing my own patterns, which is why I employ professionals. But I'm really, really, my superpower is being able to see patterns in the way people are running their businesses, the choices that they're making, what's lifting them up and what's working, mindsets that are not really effective, behaviors that don't work. Yeah, I can see it from a mile away. I feel like it's in a beautiful mind kind of thing where, you know, all of a sudden it all starts showing up in front of me when I'm having conversations, as if there's a big glass that I'm writing math equations out on.
That's so funny that you said that, because the minute you said seeing patterns, I actually saw that. Like I saw the
like having my Russell Crowe moment with a, you know, with a dry erase marker.
Yes. I think that's so good. And I love that. So there are those of you out there who need that in your life and in your business right now. Dawn is a genius at it. I think she's already displayed her genius beautifully today, but just want to plug you because I think you're amazing. Thanks. The thing that I love about talking to you, Dawn, you're great at pointing out my patterns. It's so obvious to you, right? Like what I'm oblivious to is completely obvious and logical to you, and you're able to point it out and like quickly create an awesome balanced left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain situation that is easy to implement and follow. So
that's what we aim to do every day over here at Free Range Thinking.
Well, I just want to love on you, tell you you're amazing, tell my audience two things. If Dawn has spoken to you and where you are and what you need, go visit her at freerangethinking.com and fill out the contact form. And don't forget, we were sponsored today by Angels, Peacocks, and Butterflies, 100 Days of Miracles. It's the business edition by my friend Jean Berry, who is also amazing. You guys, this is the coolest game. It's a 3-card draw every day, and you get information from those 3 cards, and you get a plan of action. It's actually really cool. So if you need something tangible and a little bit intangible in your business all at the same time, get this game at carrierolldon.com/miracle game. All right, Dawn, thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here, you lovely lady.
And viewers, thank you so much for hanging in, viewers and listeners, for a few extra minutes. I know it was worth it. And we'll see you all next week on another episode of The Carrie Roldan Show. Talk to you later.